Welcome to the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, the show that puts the spotlight on the incredible women who fuel the world of motorsports. From drivers to crew members, engineers to fans, and everyone in between, we're here to celebrate the trailblazers, dreamers, and doers shaping the sport we love. Each episode, we share inspiring stories of females of all ages from every corner of the motorsports universe, past, present, and future. It's a journey through the seasons of life filled with heartfelt moments, laughter, and a whole lot of horsepower. So, whether you're a lifelong fan, a racer yourself, or simply curious about the extraordinary women behind the wheel, settle in, relax, and enjoy a fun and uplifting ride with us. This is the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, connecting and celebrating women in motorsports, one story at a time. Let's hit the track. Promoting a track takes heart, and now showing appreciation can be just as easy. With send-out cards, you can thank sponsors, volunteers, drivers, and fans with personalized digital cards sent right from your phone or laptop. Add a photo, write a message, and hit send. It's that simple. Unlimited sends for just $10 a month. Go to sendoutcards.com/53240. That's sendoutcards.com/53240 because gratitude builds great tracks. Hello, everyone. This is Melinda Russell with the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. And today, my guest is Nancy Matter. Nancy, I want to welcome you to the show. And would you first start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much, Melinda, for inviting me on here to share my story. I really appreciate it. My name is Nancy Matter. I'm employed at this point, and I have two children, Ryan and Jamie, and then a granddaughter named Veronica, um, and a drag race.
And you drag race, that's for
What I
sure.
do.
And where do you live, Nancy?
Oh, I forgot about that part. A suburb just north of Dallas, Texas. I am via from Los Angeles, so I am not a native Texan. And the possibility of moving up to Indy is very high and likely in the very near future. Um, gosh, what else did you want to know on that part?
Did you
I
have do you
forgot.
have any pets?
I do. I have two feral cats, one named Evil Cat and Evil because he's evil, and then Enderly, who I saved from being eaten by hawks. Uh, Cat, who's my indoor Maine Coon, and then Pitbull to
Okay,
add into the equation, and his name is Mowgli.
what a collection. Yeah, for sure. So,
And the evil Cat
Nancy,
and Evil and the Pitbull are best friends.
oh
Sorry,
my gosh. Well, if go figure.
right,
Yeah,
right.
right. So, Nancy, tell me, how did you get interested in motorsports and become a drag racer?
When I was a little girl, and we won't go too far back into some of that story because I learned about it on the day I got married. Um, my first recollection of going to the races was the San Fernando Raceway in the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles. My mother was with, I don't know, her third or fourth, fifth husband. I'm not sure which it was. And he raced. Okay. And so I remember going there with them bracket racing, basically, is what they were doing. As things transpired, they built a little bit faster of a bracket car, and the bracket car did quite well. We went to Lyons, Orange County, you know, Ontario Motor Speedway at the time, Santa Maria, all the local tracks that were out there, Irwindale, and from there he decided he wanted to do an NHRA Superstock car. So they built that car, and in the interim, my mother became Wally Parks' secretary at the NHRA corporate office. And so I worked at the corporate office when I was a teenager for a couple years during the summer when I was out of school. But every weekend we were at the races, literally. And when I was 13, I met a family with the very, very well-known name in drag racing by the name of Gasparelli. And Lou and Vicky kind of just took me under their wing And I was very young. I was already in high school at the age of 13. So I was very far advanced intellectually. And they figured out that the reason why I talk so much is because I was bored. So they escalated me through classes and I kept up with everybody. Then I started helping Louie and Vicky on a funny car from that point on. And if I couldn't drive, obviously, to the races. So they would actually send a crew guy up to pick me up and take me to the races with them. And I sat in the car to go to the pits from the pit to the staging lanes, and then to load up into the trailer. I would be the person driving it up in there because I was tall and lanky. I could crawl out of the hatch. So we did that until I was, and I did the chutes and the fuel. So I did that until I was 19. And the reason why I stepped away is because my ex-husband and I didn't see eye to eye. I loved racing. He didn't. And so I wanted to be the good wife at that point because I got married at 18, just right after I turned 18. And so then I quit doing racing, and I had a very lucrative music career. And I had 2 children. So, I mean, I owned my first house in LA when I was 20 years old.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, so, as time goes by and you're doing things, and I was in bands and I played and, did all this stuff. And him and I together were in bands. He was the lead singer, and believe it or not, I was the drummer and did backgrounds. And, I worked a day job, accounting and stuff like that. I know it's a crazy life. And, things just kept transpiring and doing things. And I finally decided when I was in my 20s that I didn't want to work in a day job for the rest of my life the way that I was doing, because I was doing accounting. Okay. So, oh yeah. So from that point, I decided to throw myself into engineering school, in music engineering school. And I did very, very well there. And I landed my first job in a CD cassette manufacturing company, working in their mastering studio. So that led me to ultimately, after years and years and years and years and years of perfecting my craft, and end up my own studio after a decade-long tenure with a major record label. Okay, so from there, my marriage was already starting to fail at that point because he didn't like the fact that I was becoming so independent and still being able to handle the homestead, basically. So we ultimately got a divorce. And he's doing well. He's a good guy. We weren't good together. And about 3 or 4 months after our divorce, now mind you, this is 20 years later. Okay. So there's a big time span here. I took my kids at the ages of 10 and 12, raised them up all the way through. We're still, we still talk every day. In fact, my son called me just before I joined in on the podcast. And I went to the races up at the Northwest Nationals in Seattle for the first time in 21 years. And I've never left. So from there, I went with Gary Berg, who's a very well-known modified production eliminator Volkswagen guy with the Bird family. I mean, they're like world renowned, which, how do you know all that when you're a kid? You don't know, and Gary and I are still very, very good friends, but that rekindled our friendship. And I kept telling him, why don't you drive again? Why don't you drive? And he wouldn't do it. And I'm like, I'm not living vicariously through anybody. I went to the Frank Holly School of Drag Racing in Pomona. I hopped in. Jack Beckman was the teacher. I hopped into a dragster, and I finally told Jack this about 6 or 7 years ago. The first time I launched the dragster, I let go of the steering wheel. And I went, oh, and I said a couple choice words, and I went, ah, and I grabbed the wheel again. Well, I never told anybody that I was like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me, But I got my license that day, because you just mind over matter, you just kind of go, okay. Yeah, you needed that adrenaline shot, and this was a great experience, and it's safe, and everything. So at that point, I realized that driving my Lexus on the freeways in Los Angeles speeding was not a good idea. So it was a very good growth spurt to no longer speed on the freeways. So I ended up buying a super comp car. And now, mind you, I have my own recording studio at this point, and I'm buying a home, and I bought a super comp car with a trailer some of the tools, this and that, and started mingling in the Division 7 Super Comp ranks. But every race we went to, I ended up in the alcohol funny car pits. And I got to the point where the NHRA guys knew what I was doing. And so they would pit me as close as possible to the alcohol pits because they knew I was going to be working on an alcohol car in between, the batteries getting charged on the Super Comp car. So I kind of had it down to a T. Well, after about a year and a half, it was like I knew I was going to drive a funny car. The dragsters were just not for me. It was like every time I'd get in a funny car and they'd do a warm up, I'd be like, I was in it. I was ready because it reminded me so much of being in Louis' car. So much. The dragster, I always like kind of, ran out of breath, hyperventilated a little bit, and it's so opposite because the funny car is enclosed. But I was just like, I'm going to drive a funny car. And before I made the investment, I went to the Frank Colley School again. And this time Frank was the instructor. And the first time I launched the car, I'm like, what's wrong with this car? I don't get it. And we get back in the class and Frank says, what do you think your 60 foot was? I said 123. 1.23 seconds for viewers that don't know, what I'm speaking about. And he goes, did you look at your time slip? I said, no. He goes, how do you know that? I said, because it's as slow as my Super Comp car. And he kind of looked at me and he goes, okay. And my next one was a 101 60 foot, 1 second, almost a 1 flat. I'm like, all right, now we got something, So anyway, we kind of moved forward. I knew at that point I was going to get a funny car. So I worked very, very diligently, parked the Super Comp car, worked really diligently in the music studio where my music industry career was more interested in my drag racing of what I was doing, and the drag racers were more interested in the music. And so it was a good yin and yang that kind of came together where I could do a light switch and move from one industry to the other, and then my son was of age at that point. I didn't drive when my children, obviously were younger. I stayed, with them, and the crazy end of the music industry of how the thicket of the depthness of the music industry that I was. And so my son actually was to the point where he was driving my truck and trailer to the races where I could work in the music studio, and then I could fly into the race, do the race, and fly home and go back to work in the studio. And then he would go to another race. He would drive it either home or go to another race. So it really worked out good in that aspect. But once it was time for me to buy the funny car, we took a trip out to Colorado and we picked up my funny car. And we get it home and I got a lot of spare parts. I mean, just an amazing array of spare parts and, all this. And the gentleman at the time that was kind of pointing me in the right direction, he goes, now I need you to give me an inventory of everything you have. Okay. Now, mind you, I'd been in the music industry for so long. I had a big block Chevy 454, in the Super Comp dragster that could run 890s. It really ran about 860s, but it was, I said to him, just plain flat, what do you want me to say? That I've got this thingamabob and that whatchamacallit? Because I have no idea what I have. And he laughed and he goes, that's the most honest statement I have ever heard out of a driver's mouth. And I was like, okay, so we went on from there and I campaigned the alcohol funny car for 14 years. I met Jeremy back. I already had my funny car. I had it way before I met him. I already had my license the first time he came to the track and started, kind of looking at everything and what was going on, and campaigned that car for 14 years. I had music sponsors that came on board with the car. I had the Who in 2007 that we had an arrangement that I would do weekly concerts instead of having to wait 30 to 60 days. They were paying me weekly so that I could continue taking the alcohol car out on the road. And with, at that point, Jeremy was driving the truck and trailer and, doing all the maintenance and servicing so I could fly back and forth. Back in about 2017, 2016, we were kind of like, well, we could buy like all the Alan stuff and really, did I freeze? We can buy all the Alan Johnson stuff and, it was like 55 grand for one engine, or we could buy this turnkey nostalgia funny car for close to the same price. And so we were like, maybe it's time for a change. Maybe it's time to step it up a little bit. So we luckily with my good friend Charlie, with a little bit of help, we went out to Virginia Beach and we picked up a nostalgia funny car. So with the nostalgia funny car, we had somebody that came in and pointed us in the right direction, and he was, he's really really good at doing all of that. And we were very successful with and without him, probably more without him than we were with him. Mikey Cavallari stepped in and pointed us in the right direction. We got 2 track records. That one of them still holds the fastest funny car elapsed time. The other one, we hold the actual track record for speed and for mile an hour, for ET and mile an hour. We have a plethora of wins. We got to a point where pretty much we couldn't be beat first round. It was a very unusual thing if we got beat first round. And that's very exciting when you're winning. I mean, of course it's exciting. It's better than having that lose light every round, but you just don't give up. You set your mind to what your goals are, and you don't give up. We had an opportunity back in late 2021 to potentially buy a Top Fuel funny car. So we picked it up in 2022. And excuse me, I'm saying a lot. I'm trying not to do that. Then we had a life hiccup. Okay, so everybody has ups and downs in their lives, and we had a life hiccup that literally took us over 2 years to maneuver everything. We almost lost our business. We almost lost, we had to move 4 times in 8 months. And I had a 7,700 square foot shop with a diesel repair facility. So when you have to relocate everything, and you've got, tractor trailer, a complete racing operation, you've got all the tools, you've got multiple trailers, you've got all the stuff that you've accumulated and worked hard for. And now you're going, what do I do? So, drag racing went on the back burner. Okay. We have since rebuilt. The car it's very close to being done. We still have some things we have to do. We've got our clutch program, obviously has to be put together because that's very important in one of these cars. We need some fuel system. We've got the majority of everything. It's just a matter of fine tuning it. We need plumbing. We've got, pretty much everything else. We've been slowly but surely chunking away at all the things that this car needs. We did a funny car restoration is what we had to do. And we're getting there, and I'm really excited because we're so close to me being able to, like Clay says, stomp on that loud pedal. For me, I'm going to pounce on it. I've got this whole lion motif going right now. It's real fun. But I'm so excited to just get back in the helm. We did a large photo shoot yesterday. It wasn't a professional photo shoot, but I have a new marketing person that's helping me pulling things together. And we're just it's time. It's our time now. All the crying or crying. Yeah, I can cry. I'm a girl. But it's like when you're going through something like that, your emotions just run so high and low. And to be at this point and to have this girl sitting behind me right now with all new tanks. I mean, pretty much everything's new on the car. The only thing that's not new is the middle part of the chassis. Everything else is new. We've got a titanium shield. We've got we've got all new DSP safety padding. We've got all new, brand new. Thank God for Murph McKinney and McKinney Corporation. They have just been a godsend for us. This car basically is a McKinney car at this point. And, we've got different blocks. We've got different manifolds. We've got different, everything is different. And we put the body on the car just literally a couple of days ago. We put the body on the car. It's the first time the body's been on the car with all of these new parts, with the new steering, everything. And and that takes time, that takes money. And when you're self-employed and you've tanked your whole well-being and living, you have to really dig in deeper to say, what is my priorities here? Well, our priorities was obviously to be making a living so that we can go back to drag racing. Mm-hmm. And 2 years and 11 months, the black cloud went away, and here we are today, and I'm so excited. I would like to say a really big kudos to a few people. Redline Oil stayed with us during that hiatus. Pack Spring stayed with us during that hiatus. Autolite has stayed with us during that hiatus. Bullet Cams has stayed with us. Dart and Sleeves has stayed with us. I communicated to them everything that was going on, and they could tell the difference in my demeanor, and my bubbly self wasn't so bubbly. It was very serious. And I'm like, look, I have to tell you what's going on. And it was a lot to not pull back the tears while you're telling these people, I know that you're sponsoring me, but I can't do anything for you right now. It's okay. We're going to stay with you. And they have. And I'm so blessed and I'm so grateful. And I hope to aspire to give them in tenfold all of their support back to them. I tag them and everything. I do all this stuff. We've also, in the interim, we've picked up Star Racer belts. System One oil filtration. They've pretty much stayed with us. So it's kind of, it's really exciting. And anybody that thinks that they can't, I'm here to tell you right now, you can. Dig your feet in. It doesn't matter what the obstacles is. I mean, look, I walked away. I didn't have to walk away from racing, but to have a happy husband, I had to have a happy life, and I had children, and I wanted to be there for my children. And I think I did a pretty good job with them. I'd like to think I did. Everybody makes mistakes, but what can you say? They're here. They're not. They're productive human beings as adults, and they live on their own. It's not like I got the one in the basement living with me. I said, like, I kicked him out. Like, go flap your wings. Go fly, be a butterfly. But So I don't know.
Nancy, what an incredible story.
Thank you.
I didn't know your story. I mean, I'd heard your name, but I didn't really know anything about you. And so the fact that you gave it up, went back, went through a terrible time, and then you're back again, and the happiness is back in your voice. For those who can't see your face, if you're watching the video, you can see the big smile on her face right in front of that pretty red car that's sitting there. And I just have to give you kudos for so many people could have just given up. They could have, gone to alcohol or drugs or whatever to just like, my life sucks. And but you didn't. You worked through it, and you're ready to go racing again. How exciting. So
I am so excited.
When do you think you might be actually on the track?
Well, I set goal dates, and then of course the universe has different goal dates, right?
Mm-hmm.
So right now, our real strong, I have to cross grade my license. Okay. And I still do have current NHRA top alcohol and nostalgia funny car. So man, gosh, I wish I could say this weekend that because I've had a lot of people, are you coming? Are you coming? Are you coming? Not yet. So I'm really, God willing. I have a branding meeting on Friday, actually, down in Houston. But God willing, at least by Dallas, that I'll get to debut the car. And there's a lot of inner workings here that I'd like to fill in some of the blanks for you. I'm actually the recipient with my music career that afforded me to do this. I have 70 gold and platinum records. Okay. I've been to the Grammys. I've accomplished a lot of things. In addition to that, there's only been 6 women ahead of me that have been owner drivers of a Top Fuel funny car. And my new branding partner, Potential, on Friday, we've already got a verbal agreement. Okay, that's why I can say this. It's not $1 million. It's nothing like that. It's just something to help, chunk away at the baby steps. I'm the first in this century to be an owner driver female Top Fuel funny car, not a dragster, Top Fuel funny car. And so when he pointed that out, I was like, ooh, I never thought of it like that. It was kind of, oh, that's kind of cool. So it's very, very exciting. I received a couple messages yesterday from a couple of different crew chiefs that work on different cars. And one of them just said, I'm so happy that you're doing this. This is really a huge accomplishment, and then I have somebody else, Mike is up in Washington, and he's really pointed me in the right direction to get the car to where the car is today. And we're going to ultimately set up his fuel system in the car. It'll be his, there's going to be a lot of stuff that he has participated behind the scenes just moving forward to make this happen. I'm so excited. I can't wait.
Wow. What a
I'm
great
like,
story. I,
thank you.
I, yeah, I hear a lot of stories, Nancy, but there's times that I just sit and listen because the things that people go through, and a lot of people don't know maybe your story, or that you had some hard times, and it's easy to put on that smiley face, and but what people don't understand is what's going on behind the scenes. And now, for you to be where you are and looking forward to getting back on the track is just so, it's encouraging for other people. I love what you said. If I can do this, so can you. If I can make it through tough times and come out on the other
Hmm.
side, so can you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anybody can. You just have to dig. You just have to be true grit. Like,
Mhm.
really. I would like to say one other thing before, because I know we're getting close to our time.
It's okay.
American Valor Foundation with Chris Kyle and Chad Littlefield. And I know that there's, it's really the Chris Kyle legacy, but I always
Hmm.
include Chad because Chad was with Chris when the fateful day happened. I really would like to say thank you so much to Wayne, Debbie, Jeff, Amy, the Littlefield family, Don, Judy, Jerry, and it was Teresa. Teresa, rest her soul, she passed away. Um, but I have stuck with them and they have stuck with me, and they're very loyal based people. And it's such an honor to have been chosen back in 2014, which, to represent that foundation, and to still to this day, they are my foundation of choice. The back of the car is looks very similar without the words yet because we didn't get those on there, but it's going to be identical to the back of the trailer. So when you see them side by side, and the craziest thing, and this is for all the fans when you come out, I'm keeping that on the back of the trailer, and I do that. I preface that whenever I'm talking to a branding partner, whenever I'm talking to anybody, I always say I need to keep the back of the trailer as the guardian, and with Chris and Chad. But their eyes follow you when you walk around. And so we took the car, and my one friend up in Oklahoma, he comes down, he goes, did their eyes follow you on the back of that car too? I'm like, I don't know. Let's go look. And they do. And it's like, oh, it's so cool. But you can't see it on video. It won't do it on video. It's some type of phenomena of the photo I chose. And there was no photoshopping on them, but I mean, we took away the Port Aransas, the dock, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just a natural phenomena, and that's the picture I was led to put on there. And it's
Wow.
just I don't know. I feel like I'm a civilian. Boy, I'm a civilian as you get. I didn't even like guns till I got involved in all this. They terrified me, but I'm okay now, But they always have my back,
Yeah.
and I don't want to go down the track without them at this point on the car.
Right.
They've been on the car since 2015, I believe.
Hmm.
So, but I would really like to say a kudos to them for the American Valor Foundation and for all the work that they do for Gold Star families, for veterans,
Yeah.
for officers, for fallen officers' families, for firemen and all
Hmm.
that stuff. It's a huge cause to be able to give back to all these people,
Yeah.
so I
That's
appreciate it a lot.
amazing. So,
Thank you.
Nancy, how can people follow you, social media, whatever, so that they can keep track of you, and when you start racing, we can see what you're up to?
That'd be great. Okay, so everything's pretty much based on either Nancy Matter or Nancy Matter Racing. So my personal page on Facebook is tapped, and I probably have 1,000 people trying to, I just can't facilitate everything. But my Nancy Matter Racing on Facebook. I'm also on LinkedIn under Nancy Matter. I've got Instagram, X, Twitter, X.
Okay.
Um, YouTube is Nancy Matter Racing, which there's not a
Okay.
lot on there right now, but I'm getting better. TikTok, I think it's
Yeah.
Nancy Matter Racing. So I'm there. I'm in all of them.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the time, and that you were willing to share your story, because it's a good one, and it's going to inspire other people. I know that for sure.
I hope so. I want to be a beacon of hope for people, of men and women. They've got this whole thing right now that's women of power, which I totally support, but I don't feel myself being a woman of power. I feel myself as being an empowered woman. And it's just by that simple change of that word, I want to be the beacon of inspiration for men and women both, that you can do this. You don't have to be 62 and say, I'm retired, and you lay around on the couch for the rest of your life. No, get out, do things. Your body is wanting you to move and, be happy and, and do all that stuff, So I hope,
You'll live
I
a
really
lot.
hope.
You'll live a lot longer if you stay active and find something that makes you want to get up in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. Even if it's just going out and into your garden or whatever, or, feeding the birds, going to the park, there's so many different levels of success. And, um, I just happen to choose things that are so bipolar from each other, so, and everything's been male dominated. People, oh, aren't you, you're like working in a man's world. I don't know any different. I've been doing this all my life. I don't look at it that way.
No.
We're people, we're human beings. And we need to be good human beings,
That's for sure. Well, Nancy, thanks again for taking time today to be on the show. I really appreciate it. And if you'll hang on just for a second here after we end the recording, and then I'll let you go on about your day.
Thank you so much, Melinda. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And God bless.
Oh, you're welcome. If you're looking to buy, sell, or trade the stuff that strokes your engine, anything from truck parts to classic and muscle cars, RVs to hot rods, and everything in between, then check out our official classifieds at racingjunk.com. Racingjunk.com is the world's #1 online racing and performance marketplace, the ultimate one-stop shop where you'll find what you need to rock your ride. If it belongs in your garage, it's for sale on racingjunk.com. Log on to racingjunk.com to find the gear you're looking for, sell your extra stuff, keep up on racing news and tech tips, and more. Again, that's racingjunk.com.
That's it for this episode of the Women's Motorsports Network podcast. We hope you've been inspired by the stories I shared today and feel more connected to the amazing community of women in motorsports. Remember, whether you're behind the wheel, in the pits, or cheering from the stands, your story matters. And together, we're driving change and celebrating every milestone. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who loves motorsports as much as you do. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for updates, behind the scenes content, and more incredible stories. So until next time, stay inspired, stay connected, and keep racing through life. This is the Women's Motorsports Network podcast, where every woman's story is worth celebrating.